Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Variable Action Heroes One Piece Past Blue version of RORONOA ZORO, which is my favorite character from the anime, and it's my favorite version of the character, though I have to admit, after watching now post-time skip, I am growing a little bit more fond of the post-time skip version. Either way, I do prefer this version still, and we got the figure, so let's go ahead and review it. So let's take it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7.5 inches, just shy of that, which makes him just under 19 centimeters. So pretty much in line with all the other ones, nothing really special there. We're not really going to see any size changes until we get that new version of Ace, and that's a separate line anyway, so no worries about that. Now, you guys know I have the absolute worst luck in the world, and this figure has demonstrated that because... And I wanted to review it anyway because I know you guys want to see it, and this defect isn't going to really affect the review too much because this is not going to be a common thing. The neck is fine. We'll get to that in a second. This part of the neck, though, on the other hand, you can see the peg is supposed to go in that middle hole, and there's not supposed to be a hole back here. It's supposed to be just a socket within the neck. And somehow, when they put it together, they mushed this and then stretched this out. So my head, or the neck and head, do not fit on the body. It just barely kind of wedges on. So hopefully I can get that sorted out, but don't worry about that because your head will sit properly on your body. It won't be a problem like this. So that aside, the figure does do many things very well. It does do some things not so well, but I think mostly you guys are going to be very happy with this. So before we get into it anymore though, let's talk accessories because there are quite a few. First of all, we have two different heads. We have the one head for his hair showing, and then we have the other head for his bandana, and those just interchange very easily. All the faces can be swapped around, so that's very nice. I'm glad we got those options. And speaking of faces, we have quite a bunch. We have the normal face, which is kind of stern but neutral. We have one where his teeth are gritted and he's angry, one where he's smiling, one where he's yelling, one where he's laughing, and then one where his mouth is open so that you can put the sword in his mouth for three-sword style. And it's got a little peg on his mouth, and then one of the swords, which we'll get to now, has a peg hole on it. So this sword can go into his mouth and it actually pegs in. But we do also get a regular version of that sword, and I don't remember the names of the individual swords, guys. I know it's my favorite character, but it's not like they name the swords regularly, so please forgive me. But we do get all three swords, plus the additional one for going in his mouth, and they're all very nicely done, so I'm happy about that. And then we get all three swords that go in their sheaths, which is just the sheath, and it goes on his waist. And then, of course, the handles come off of those to look like they've been drawn, so that's a very nice touch. And then we have a few different hands. We have the two fist hands that come on him in the package, two gripping hands, and then two style pose hands. And then lastly, we have his, I guess, speech bubble, if you want to call it a speech bubble. However, there's no way to use that unless you have a Variable Action Heroes display stand, which does exist. You can go buy them. I bought some, but I haven't reviewed them. They're okay. They're super cheap, so if you want to grab a couple, go ahead and do it. Even if they're not great, they're good enough for the speech bubbles. So plenty of options for posing this guy, and as long as your head comes connected to your figure, you should be fine. So let's talk about the figure. How's the paint? Mostly really good. You can see the green belt thing around his waist. It does have shading across the lines. It's not the most uniform. You can see right here. It's very dark, and some of the other ones are a little less, but it's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely good enough. It should vary from figure to figure for that kind of thing, so I wouldn't worry about it being too uneven. The pants have some nice shading on them. Mine has a couple of little spots on it, but overall some nice green shading on the very dark green plastic. The shoes are nice and glossy, or boots I guess I should say. They have a little bit of shading on them as well with some gray. The skin tone's actually pretty nice on this guy, shading throughout. The shirt is obviously this kind of off-white, kind of a dirty white look, and it does have shading throughout, and that's fine. The buttons were not painted at all, but I think that's okay because that's how it's supposed to be if memory serves. This is a separate piece, so no worries about paint there. Same thing for the collarbone area. That's actually a separate piece of plastic, so there's no paint issue with the neck at all. And then, of course, the hair is all separate except for the sideburns, and that looks pretty good as well. So, it's just a really solidly put together figure in terms of aesthetics. Now let's talk about articulation. I'm very happy to let you guys know that the neck itself is on a double ball peg, which is, you guys know, my favorite and the most objectively good set up for a neck. And then it's also true, if I can pop it off, well, we'll just take it off this way. It's also true, I can show you that way. For the head, it's on a double ball peg again. So we have 2 double ball pegs, neck and then head, and that is exactly how you want it to be. You don't need a hinge. The hinge gets in the way. Stop putting hinges in, everybody. This is perfect. So very, very pleased about that. I love the way they put the head and neck together, other than the fact that mine was not put together properly. For the shoulders, it is a bit of a step back. I still think Ace was the perfect example of how the shoulders should be done. His is a little more basic, not quite as good. We have a bit of a butterfly in here, and you have a ball peg that the arm connects to on top of that butterfly. The butterfly doesn't really accomplish much. It just moves a little bit, and it's okay to be there, but the way it's designed, you still don't get his arm around his chest at all, so it's not going to be that helpful. The ball peg will allow the arm to move around, and then of course you have the hinge at the end of the ball peg, which does move around just fine, so no problems there. It's okay. It's gonna be effective. You're just not gonna get that much usefulness out of the butterfly. I don't know why they took a step back in that regard, but they did. You do get a little bit of a bicep swivel where the arm meets the sleeve. I think that's mostly for assembly purposes because it's a very minor amount of range, but it is there. And then you have your double jointed elbow, which is not bad. It's definitely good enough, so I'm happy with that. The wrist is standard ball hinge, and it's got decent enough range. Not a ton, as you can see, because the hand and wrist come out pretty far over the hinge, but it works, so that's okay. For the torso, I believe they're all single. Don't quote me on this because I didn't try to pull this apart in fear of it breaking, but I believe we have a single ball peg here. I know we have a single ball peg from the white to the green, and then a single ball peg going up from the crotch into the green part. So you can move his upper torso around on that one ball peg, and you can get full rotation, and it actually leans pretty far back, and not so far forward, and a little bit side to side. Down here, but from the white to the green, not a full rotation, but a decent amount, and then it can lean a little bit around as well, and then the green leans mostly forward and back over the pants just due to the shape of the pants, but it can technically lean side to side as well. You just have to kind of fiddle with it a little bit, and of course it will rotate. So combining all of those, he doesn't lean forward that far, which is a bit of a bummer, but he can lean back pretty nicely and side to side. I think it'll be good enough. It's not as good as it could be by any means, especially considering he's got this extra floating piece here. They could have really used that to their advantage, but it's okay. It's not bad. It'll do. Now the hips, we're going back to a little bit more of a basic design for the hips as well. The crotch is a soft semi-floating piece, so it'll kind of flex around as you need it to, but the hips have a hinge going out to the side. You're not going to get the splits out of them, but you're going to get pretty far, so that's okay. And then they have a swivel going forward and back. And that's it. It's a really basic design. You do get to go about 90 degrees out, so that's good. A little bit back as well, so you can put them in some nice style poses. And of course you do have a thigh swivel where the thighs connect, but it's pretty minimal. So again, they did tone back the articulation quite a bit on this guy. I'm not sure if they're just cutting costs or what, but it's not terrible, but it's not great. Double jointed knee does work pretty nicely. It's not ugly, and it's effective. It's better than 90, so I will take it. That is good. And then for the ankle, we have just a single ball peg. I guess it could technically be a double, but I doubt it. It moves around well enough. You get decent range forward and back. A little bit of an ankle rocker, but it is kind of a loose ball peg, so not the best design. I don't care for that too much. And lastly, we have a little toe hinge, which it's nice and stiff, so it's functional, and it's not the worst looking in the world, but it's definitely not the best. So it's there. So yeah, this guy's not the best figure. I have to be completely honest, despite him being my favorite. Oh, also, the legs can get kind of loose going forward and back. Side to side, they're stiff, so that's good, but the swivel part, a little problematic. So yeah, it's not the best figure in the bunch, not by any stretch of the imagination. Will it do? Probably. I'm happy to have it, being a ZORO fan, but if you're not a ZORO fan and you're not collecting the whole line, I have to be honest, this guy he's not one that you're going to be too upset about passing on, other than he comes with a bunch of swords and is cool in general. Objectively speaking, there's not a lot about the figure that's great, and there are a few things about it that are pretty bad. So either way, you guys have the information now. You can make your own decision and decide what you want to do. I'm happy to have it again because I like the character, but if you don't, you're not going to have that personal connection, and you're not going to be so psyched about it. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games. All kinds of fun stuff, so make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and in the meantime, keep collecting.